family. I mean, they've been out here. It's now the 4th generation running the company. There are 6 active members here in the company. They're all born in Oporto. Now all the younger generation have to be born in the UK to keep up their British nationality.
Right.
So, but there's, you know, dating back from the very first one, the very first Andrew James Symington, who came out here in 1882. It's quite amazing that this is still a 100% family-owned company. And further down there, you can see the old Barco Rebellos there on the right-hand side. And gone are the days, as I mentioned previously, that we don't use those anymore to bring down the port. Those are now strictly used just for a regatta and for display purposes. And on the 24th of June, they're towed out to the mouth of the River Douro, and they sail back with all the sails. Yeah, and the Symington family have got 3 boats actually. It's quite fun. It's a fun race. It's a fun race. It takes about 2 hours. We're totally dependent on the wind, and it sort of comes from the mouth of the River Douro right down just to the bridge, that old bridge, that amazing old bridge was built by Eiffel's company, one of Eiffel's engineers. So it's yes, fantastic there.
Is it Eiffel Tower?
Eiffel Tower, yes, exactly, as in Eiffel Tower, Paris. This is the most unique wine region in the world, in that all the vineyards are situated 100 kilometres away from the aging cellars down here in Villanova de Gaia.
Right.
And the reason for this originally was obviously it was easier to ship out,
right.
And we have a cooler climate down here in Gaia, so we've got a sort of pretty average temperature here all year round. We get these summer fogs that will sit down like till 4 in the afternoon and gradually rise. And so this is during summer, so it remains fairly cool. When you go up into the Douro Valley, we've got a series of microclimates. You get really hot weather, and as I explained, it's very dry, and we can get up to about 47 degrees, 45 degrees in some.
Desert.
Yeah. Very, very hot, yes, and so we're getting huge concentration, huge fruit from the vines, yes, in the grape varieties. So, and just interestingly, so we have a large mountain range here, which acts as a barrier. It's called the Serra de Marão and the Serra de Montemoro, and these, in normal circumstances, don't let this sort of more humid weather from Porto, this Porto coast here, get up into this region. So hence it preserves it. So yeah, harvest will normally start about mid-September.
Yes.
On our properties, we have a property manager. He hires a foreman, and the foreman will hire in the local people to do the picking and the treading.
Right.
Treading if we can get them, but mainly the picking. Everything is hand picked. It's extremely labor intensive, the whole region, and so normally women will pick and men will carry down. Unfortunately, gone are the days we'll be using these amazing old baskets, because these weigh 50-60 kilos on the guys' backs. You know, they're really fantastic, aren't they? Yeah. What we're using now are 25 kilo plastic containers, so that the grapes are not getting crushed, and they're pre-chosen. It's very pre-selection is all done, and then they're taken down individually in these boxes down to the waiting winery. And then our vinification methods, as I explained, we've got the old stone lagars, which are back there. Correct, yes. Here we've got now, as I said, this normally starts from 7 till 11. It's a long time. 3 to 4 hours normally, 2 hours of what they call the cut, where they're moving back and forth inside the lagars. I mean, what we do is they're not allowed to get out. They're normally not supposed to get out, and they must keep in a very certain rhythm. And so someone's sort of calling time, left, right, 1, 2.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's quite funny.
Do they have music?
Yes, they have music in the second half, which they call the Liberty, and then people will move around freely. But it is essential that the grapes are evenly trodden, and we've now produced this robotic lagar. As I said, first prototype back in 1998. We've got about 16 of them up and running at various properties throughout the Douro Valley, and it includes the fact is it's a whole treader over the top there that can move across several lagars at the same time, and it's programmed to do the cut and the Liberty, so there's that serious cut and the music side, and then it's programmed to plunge the cap meaning the grapes, the skins and pips, which come to the top naturally with the start of fermentation, and it will plunge the cap, and then the musters run off exactly the same as we do in the traditional lagars, run off at the same time, maximum 48 hours, 36 to 48 hours, run off down into the waiting large barrels, where we add the brandy and we fortify it. We buy our brandy in from southern Portugal. It can be bought within the EU region, but we buy within the EU countries. It's a very neutral product, neutral brandy. It's great brandy, obviously, and it's totally clear, colourless, and it's 77% alcohol. And we add 20% of that to 80% of the juice or the must. It's a gradual process, and we need to sort of pump over about 24 hours. And literally, after a short process of the fermentation, we add the brandy, we fortify it, we stop it it kills all the yeast.
Yeah.
And you can say your young port is born. It's totally different to table wine. Totally different to table wine. And so it makes a difference. It makes a difference. And naturally, of course, all the sugar, it's natural grape sugar that's preserved in. That's why port is naturally sweet. Our vintage season lasts about 4 weeks in general. That's the whole process of the final, right down to the final method. And so all port is then stored up in the Douro Valley for about 3, 4, 5 months. For during the winter months where it's kept up there to stabilise, it's perfect. It's very, very cold up there. And then we bring it down to Villanova de Gaia in the tanker lorries. We've gone to the days where we're using the old Bacca Rabello boats on the river. Which are amazing, and we now just have a regatta with those on the 24th of June.
So when the wine is shipped down from...
It comes down from the Douro Valley, yes, it comes down here into our pipes. These barrels are called pipes, that's the terminology we use, and they hold 550 litres, and they're made of French oak. And they are literally reusable. They're quite amazing, so they can last for decades, 50, 60 years. And we've got our own team of coopers who come and do repairs on them and, continual maintenance on them. So, and what you've got put into here would be our future Tawny Ports. So Tawny Ports go into these smaller barrels. There's more contact with the wood and they oxidize, and so there's an oxidization method that happens, and so naturally we get a Tawny Port. And depending how long we keep it in here, we've got Tawnies in the grams range of 3-year-old Tawny, and then we move straight up to a 10, 20, 30 or 40-year-old Tawny. And these particular Tawnies are not exactly from a single year, they're an average age of those years, so you can average age.
So it's more like
more blended in, exactly, yes.
So with the regular Graham's Port, how long is that going to be in the barrel?
Well, Graham's has got so many different styles. I mean, we do a ruby Tawny and we do a late bottle vintage, and we do so many different styles which we can see, but it really, all the different styles just depend on how long it is in wood. So, for example, a standard ruby will go into very large barrels and be aged for about 3 years. But, for example, Graham's also does a 6 grapes, which is a premium ruby, and which is a blend of wines of between 4 and 6 years of age. So you're getting a bit more class and more fruit and everything.
And so again, just with the vintage product, that's going to be in the barrel for...
The vintage will be in the barrel in wood, as we say, in the very large barrels and the very large vats for 2 years maximum. 2 years maximum, yes. And then into the bottle unfiltered, and then left to lay down and just age in the bottle, yes. And just because of the fact hasn't been fined and filtered, it's had no filtration at all, it'll improve in bottle. It'll just mellow out, and with the age and with time, it just becomes very soft, and the alcohol sort of gradually disappears and blends in, sort of thing. It's so the longer you really leave a vintage in bottle, it's better. But I mean, if you want to drink it younger, you've got a fantastic fruit. You've got much more fruit-driven wines.
So, bottle vintages depend on having the sediments. They've got to be left in there. So
yes,
they
yes,
won't
that's
be
right.
filtered out
That's right. That's right. Yes,
yes,
that's right. And then on the other hand, you've got to just decanter them, of course, before you're serving them. And then there's the problem, though, with those. The fact that they haven't had a special treatment before bottling is that they should be drunk within 4 or 5 days, really, after you've had them opened. So yes, because they'll oxidize. They'll go off.
So Jackie, tell us about this vintage port cellar.
Right. Well, vintage port, as you know, is the top quality wine. It really is the top of all the port wines. And vintage port and all ports actually start their life in wood. So for vintage port, it spends 2 years of its life in the very large vats, and then we bottle it with a long cork in a black bottle, and it is brought in here to be laid down where we have the wine in contact with the port, and it's just left. But vintage port is a special declaration. We declare a vintage port. We only normally make about 3 declarations per decade. It's an exceptional year. It's an exceptional year. We've had exceptional weather conditions. We've had fairly low rainfall. We've had huge concentration. So it's up to us if we think we've got a very, very good year. And then we, by law, must bottle up until 2 years. And so then once you get that, then we will offer out en primeur to our agents, the grams, the vintage, so it'll be offered out in small quantities and special prices. And then the rest is literally comes in here to lay down and age. So you get we gave a fantastic cool cellar here. We don't have any air conditioning in here, but we've got just stocks and stocks of vintage ports, literally laying on natural earth floor here. With these bins themselves this holds 16,800 bottles. In non-vintage years, we're declaring a single quinta vintage port, and these single quintas where the grapes are just taken from a single estate, from the Malveiros property only. Right. And so that's still bottled under the same conditions as a vintage, with the cork and the black bottle, etc. So it's still a very, very good year, but normally about half the value of the vintage port. So that's what we call a single quinta vintage port.
Once the robot has done its treading job, it comes out of the pipes out here and into these big storage tanks. It's ready for shipping by truck to Porto, and we can take a look inside. Hello. All right. I've got my head inside one of the barrels, which luckily for us has actually been repaired at the moment. This is just, I guess, one of the temporary storage barrels where it's coming straight off the tread, the lager, and being put in here until it's, I guess, shipped down to Porto for the proper aging process to happen in the cooler climate. There's a very grapey smell in here, that's for sure. The skills of the cooper, he's just behind us, he's been doing it for 40 years, are invaluable. These barrels would cost a small fortune to replace now. They had to make a new one. They're all made of French oak here as well. If we come outside, we can actually see the staves as he's working on it. Well, as you can see here, this is the tools that have been used to repair this barrel. Many of them will be the same as they've been for hundreds of years now. Old munted up chisel and good old hammer. Nothing too fancy there, but of course the electric planer and jigsaw there will make life a lot easier, I'm sure, for some of the jobs. You can see here the stave, the purple coloration obviously from the wine, and this piece of wood here could be nearly 100 years old. And what a place to have to work, eh? Boy, this must be really stressful. Birds singing, the river flowing by, mountains. Heck. The amazing scenery and tranquility of the Douro Valley is quite a world apart from the hustle and bustle of downtown Porto, where the main port companies are located. Now, the port industry in Portugal seems to be largely controlled by the 7 major groups. The Symington Port Company, where our host Jackie hails from, is one of them. Each of these port groups has their own family of brands or port houses that they look after.